Hi and welcome to another narration, presented by yours truly, Cryptids Roost. Let's just take a moment's silence for all the haters, Karens and the trolls. That's enough. Be sure to check out the blooper reel at the end of the video, which is then followed by the end screen, where you will find more videos listed. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. Dead Whispers. This awesome story is written by Corpse Child. Be sure to check out Corpse's new book, Damned Whispers. It is available both as a Kindle ebook and also in paperback. 13 chilling anecdotes, 13 reasons that you'll never sleep again. The Amazon link to this book will also be listed below in the description. Daddies, mummies, brothers, sisters, it is a new era and a new age. Every new age brings something new. There's a new site that gives you all your quality jackets, joggers, shoes, bags, hoodies and lots more. Metaphysik.com. Check them out today and I bet you won't regret patronising with them, and you will definitely demand more. It's Metaphysik today, Metaphysik tomorrow, and Metaphysik forever. 100% perfection. Remember to use the code XYZ for a 10% discount. I'm insane. Please just tell me I'm insane. Please tell me that I'm a delusional freak who deserves to be locked up. Hell, call me a schizohead or a psychomaniac. Fucking anything. Just for the love of God, please tell me this isn't real. If it is, I don't know what I'll do. It's been going on for almost 2.5 months now. At least since Jackie died. Jacqueline, the girl I took under my wing. The girl I let down and now the source of my torment. We'd met about 1.5 months ago and I was still working a dead-end job as a cook for Porky Brothers, the old barbecue joint that sat in the middle of downtown where I lived before it closed down last week. I still remember how we met. I was out back taking a smoke, the only one I'd had so far that day. I'd just gotten into a fist fight with Rick, one of the waiters who always particularly disliked me for whatever reason. The guy seemed to amuse himself with trying to crack a bullwhip over my back to hurry up with an order. And of course, when a customer would complain about something being wrong with the food, be it not seasoned enough or something was still cold, you could bet your bottom fucking dollar the son of a bitch would be in my ear about it. That time was over the order being 3 minutes late, even though we were getting slammed with business and I barely had any help, with multiple people calling out. I was already tired from having to pull a double and I'd been putting up with his shit for far longer than I ever should have, and I was about to break his face in when Wendell, my buddy, and one of the only other cooks working with me that day, stepped in and told me to go take a smoke. I did so without a single word. So there I was, puffing away at a Marlboro Red when she approached me for the first time. I could tell she'd been crying and her clothes were torn and raggedy. "Can I bum a smoke?" she asked, her voice shaking. I looked in the pack, seeing that there was only one left after the one I was smoking. Admittedly, I almost told her no. Looking at her though, I guessed at the time I didn't have the heart. "Thank you." She just stood next to me, silently dragging on her smoke. Part of me wanted to ask if she was okay, but at the same time, I knew she wasn't. The way she looked said everything. The tattered clothes, the way she was quivering, still in tears, and just how utterly frightened she was. Plus, I could also see bruises on her cheekbones and around her mouth. I was heartbroken. I must have somehow shown it too, because she soon told me, "It was nothing, just an accident." Accident, my ass. She shrunk a bit before taking another drag. She told me that it was just a misunderstanding, that it wouldn't happen again. I was becoming enraged. I wasn't a saint, sure, but damn it, I was raised to believe that no matter what, a man doesn't put hands on a woman like that. I wanted to find and hand this piece of shit his ass on a platter before putting him down like the animal he was. What happened? Why'd he do it? I finally managed to ask. She shook her head. Look, don't worry about it, okay? You wouldn't get it anyway. I think I get it perfectly well. Some bastard just beat the hell out of you and you're afraid of getting him in trouble by telling me who he is. Oh yeah, she scoffed. And what are you going to do, huh? Kick his ass? Why not? At least then I can kick somebody's ass today. This made her chuckle. Bad day, huh? Look who's talking. This time we both laughed. Name's Otto, by the way. Jacqueline, she said, her voice sounding just a little less timid. She flicked her cigarette out before thanking me and turning to leave. Hold up! I shot out my hand to her, stopping her. I pulled out one of the order tickets I'd crumpled up earlier out of anger and scrawled out my phone number. Call me later, okay? She looked at it and then to me, smiling. You got it. She then turned and left, and I went back inside to continue torturing myself with the rest of my shift. That night I finally got home at 1:45 AM, having to close the kitchen. I was grabbing a beer from the fridge when my phone buzzed with a text message. Hey, it's me, Jacqueline. I just wanted to say thanks for talking to me and letting me burn a smoke. Really made my day better. Smiley face. I smiled, something I hadn't done all day, or all week for that matter, and replied that I was glad I made somebody happy today. I also texted her that if she wanted to talk about anything, that I'd be there. After that, there was no reply for a while, so I decided to proceed with drinking myself to sleep that night. When I woke up the next morning, by that I really mean about a half hour to noon, I found that there were a couple of texts from her waiting for me. The first one was only about 3 hours after the one I sent her. That would be nice, thank you. Smiley face. The other two were sent only about another hour after that one, each only about 10 minutes or so apart from each other. Hey, you still up? I'm kinda scared here. Can we talk? Please? My eyes snapped wide when I saw this. I felt my heart drop. The timestamps for these messages had been from 5 hours ago when I was asleep. She'd needed me and I wasn't there. Immediately I shot her a text saying that I was sorry I didn't see her message and asked if she was okay. My heart was racing, waiting, praying for a response. Finally, about 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a response. Hey, it's fine. Everything's okay. Smiley face. Sorry for worrying you. My heart slowly returned to normal. At least she's alive. I asked her what happened and if she was hurt. She replied that she was alright and that she was overreacting. Though I was relieved that she was okay for now, I wasn't convinced that she was just overreacting. Look, I'm no kind of trauma counsellor or psychologist, but I wasn't born yesterday either. I'd seen before where I'd see friends of mine looking like Jackie did, with bruises, cuts and black eyes covering them after their pieces of shit boyfriends would come home, usually sloshed, with some wild hair in their asses. Every time too, they would try to pass it off as something like overreacting, or just an accident, or not what it looked like. I decided to ask if she was open for lunch that afternoon since I was off work. She replied that she was busy, but that dinner might be an option. I told her that would be great and asked if she would like me to pick her up. She replied with her address, and I told her that I'd be by around 6:30 that evening. After that, I spent the day getting cleaned up and rummaging through my storage unit of an apartment for something nice, or at least halfway decent to wear to dinner. I wanted to make an impression. I wanted her to see that good men do still exist that can treat her like a lady, you know? If nothing else, I figured maybe I'd help her feel more secure and might open up about what was going on. About 5 o'clock that evening, I managed to find the suit I wore for my brother's wedding and was putting it through a cycle in the wash. That's when my phone buzzed with a text from Jackie. "Hey, I know this is awkward, but is there any way you could come get me now?" I froze. I just put the suit into the washer and it wouldn't be done for another 20 minutes. I asked her if everything was okay. She replied that she was fine, but really wanted to meet up now. I asked her what was going on, but she didn't reply after that. I was floored. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. Part of me wanted to try and press for details. I was getting a bit nervous with how vague she was being with everything. I wondered what I'd see once I get there. Would she even be alive when I got there? Again, I'd seen shit like this play out before, and I wasn't just going to sit by and watch it happen with Jackie. I started imagining what the boyfriend was like, imagining a 6'2" gorilla who's Bud Light. It was with this in mind that I said fuck the suit and threw on a t-shirt and jeans, the cleanest ones I could find, and hopped in my car. I shot her a text saying I was on my way as I all but peeled out of the parking lot. It took me about 15 minutes to find where she lived, having to backtrack roads I wasn't really familiar with. The city I lived in was small, sure, but I didn't exactly get out much, which made it all unfamiliar territory for me. The house was a small one just off the corner of the downtown area, isolated with only 2 other houses neighbouring it. When I pulled up, I noticed there wasn't a vehicle parked in the driveway. Damn it, I'm too late. Fucker's already gone, I thought as I jumped out of the car. I'd made my way to the porch. My hand tightly gripped around the butterfly knife I always keep in my pocket. It's not exactly a nice neighbourhood I live in. "Jacqueline!" I called, knocking on the door. For about a minute, nothing happened. I tried leaning my ear to the door to see if I could hear anything. Nothing. It was when I was texting her, telling her that I was on the porch, that I heard the door slowly open. The front door cracked open and my heart stopped when I saw her face. It was worse than the previous day. Covering almost every inch of her face were cuts and fresh bruises alongside the ones from before. My jaw fell open and hung like someone tied a brick of lead to it. I was horrified, while at the same time overcome with rage. Now I wanted the bastard 6 feet in the ground, and I wanted to be the one that dug his grave. What? She stepped out onto the porch, quickly shutting the door behind her. She stood there silently, her face chiseled in a state of fear and her eyes locked onto my feet, seemingly unable to make contact with mine. Now in the full light outside, I saw how one eye was so badly beaten that it was almost swollen shut. As well as this, there were gashes now across her cheeks, fresh and still trickling with blood. I was speechless. I wasn't sure how to begin. I didn't know whether to demand she tell me who this animal was and where I could find him, or just grab her and hold her in the tightest bear hug I could imagine. In the end, I just stood still, speechless with horror. Finally, she broke the silence, asking, shaking, "Can we go, please?" Almost absently, I nodded and stammered, "Where to?" "I don't care," she said, her voice breaking. "I just need to get out." I gently took her hand and led her into my car and we drove off. I decided against trying to take her out to a restaurant or anything like that, looking the way she did and all. With no other ideas of where to go, I asked if she'd like to come back with me to my place for dinner. She nodded nervously again. "That'd be nice." "I'll have to warn you though, I'm not exactly the tidiest." I chuckled when I said this, hoping to lighten the mood with that. It didn't work. "Doesn't matter, it'll be fine," she said anxiously, still quivering like she was cold. I could tell she wasn't in the mood to hear my voice at the moment, so the rest of the way to my apartment was spent in silence. The whole time her eyes stared about 1,000 yards ahead through the windshield while she shook in the passenger seat. When we pulled up to my apartment, before I could even cut the engine off, Jacqueline was already undoing her seatbelt and opening the door. As quickly as I could, I turned the car off and got out after her. I got her to follow me back to my apartment. "Ta-da!" I said awkwardly as I opened the door to reveal my wreck of an apartment. Home sweet home, or at least as sweet as it can be. I saw her look at me, her eyes still wide and nervous, yet still parting the left corner of her lip up into a shy half smile. I threw some of my clutter that was on the couch to the floor beside it, giving her a place to sit down. She stood in the doorway for a second before finally trudging over and sitting down. "Would you like a drink?" I asked, opening the fridge. "I must warn you, all I got are Miller's, but they are fresh and cold." She smiled weakly again and replied, "No thanks." I grabbed one for myself and made my way to the couch, sitting next to her. For the first 5 minutes or so, my apartment was so dead silent that you'd have been able to hear a pin dropping from the 5th floor above me. She just sat staring at the floor. A couple of times I saw her shaking her head like she was dizzy or something. I broke the silence by asking her if she'd like to watch something on the TV. She didn't seem to notice me at first, so I called her name again. This time her head snapped up to me. Her face looked lost and afraid at the same time. "Huh? You want to watch some TV? Oh, yeah, that'd be nice." I turned it on and started flipping through channels. Finally, I managed to land on an episode of Family Guy and stopped there. I asked her if she was cool with that, telling her it was one of my favourites, though to be honest, it wasn't. She just shrugged and said she didn't mind. By that point, it was really starting to eat away at me at what she wasn't telling me. Again, I get it. People in her situation, especially after a particularly bad episode like what she dealt with earlier, tend not to want to talk about it. But that didn't make things any easier for me. I became especially anxious when I saw her start shaking her head and clutching her temples. Then I started hearing her faintly mutter under her breath, No, stop it. I don't want to. Stop." Stop what? I asked nervously, putting my hand on her shoulder. She didn't seem to notice, instead shaking her head more violently and tearing at her hair. Her clawing became violent, pulling at her ears, and I was scared she was about to rip them off. I realised that she must be having a psychological episode, maybe PTSD or something from getting the hell beat out of her that day. Unsure of what to do, I grabbed her arms and shouted her name. Jacqueline! Jacqueline! She finally stopped and looked at me again. Her eyes were wide, almost unnaturally so, looking absolutely lost and flooding with tears. Her breathing was heavy. It's okay, I said softly. It's okay. I'm here. I've got you. I didn't really know why I said that. Truthfully, I didn't believe what I said, being just as lost, if not more so, than she was. I guess it was the only thing I knew to say to make her feel better, or at least to keep her from doing serious harm to herself. Thankfully, it seemed to do as much, because her body immediately relaxed as she then curled into a ball and buried her face in her hands, sobbing. I just froze. What was I supposed to do here? I wanted to hold her, but at the same time I knew that might cause her to freak out again. One thing was certain, I definitely wanted to beat the shit out of her boyfriend. I'm sorry, she said through her hands. I shouldn't have come here. I'm sorry. I should go. She started to get up from the couch. I got up to stop her. Back to him? I asked. She tried to push past me to the door. I continued to block her. I couldn't let her go back to that. Hell, I wasn't even sure I was comfortable leaving her alone at this point. What are you talking about? Your boyfriend, the piece of shit that's done this to you. She shrunk down again, closing her eyes and saying, Look, you don't get it. My boyfriend didn't do this. I don't have a boyfriend, okay? I live alone. Just please, I need to go home. I was caught off guard by this. If she didn't have a boyfriend or anyone else, then who's been beating her up like this? As much as I wanted to press that question, I could see that she was desperate to leave. Then at least let me take you home, please. Just so I know you'll be okay. She looked at me and nodded. Sure. We drove in silence. Well, silent except for her constantly mumbling. I said no. I won't go. I don't want to. Leave me alone. I said nothing. But I can't lie, this was starting to scare me. I was terrified that at any moment she was going to start trying to tear at her hair or something again. Fortunately, that didn't happen. When we pulled into her house, before she could bolt out like she couldn't get out fast enough, I put a hand out, stopping her. Call me tomorrow morning, okay? Just let me know that everything's okay, please? She half-heartedly nodded before getting out of the car. After she went inside her house, I just sat there for a good 5 or so minutes, waiting for something to happen. I almost expected to see her in the window, getting hurt, either by herself or someone else, and that I was going to have to rush in after her. As it happened, all the lights were off and it was dead silent. I finally managed to satisfy myself, for the time being, that she was okay and left her house. It's no surprise that on the drive home that night, my mind was entrapped by one big question. What the hell was going on with Jacqueline? Why was she hurting herself the way she was? What was causing her to have episodes like she did at my apartment? Did something happen to her? Maybe something that somehow scarred her? That might make sense, but then that brings up the question of why she hasn't sought help. Hell, has she told anybody? If not, then why? Of course, all of this was eclipsed by the biggest question. Who the hell was she talking to when she was saying, "Stop, I don't want to"? The only conclusion I could think of now was that she might have some form of schizophrenia, or even some dual personality or something like that. Again, no expert on psychology, but based on what I'd seen, that was the only way I could explain what was going on. This, however, made me feel all the more uneasy about leaving her by herself. It was a good thing I was off work the next day too, because all through that night I was essentially on high alert, just waiting for her to call or text me, panicking again. In other words, sleep was not an option. What's worse is that the entire time, try as I could otherwise, even down in a few millers, I couldn't take my mind off it to relax. I kept imagining that the next time I saw her, it'd be in the hospital, or worse. All I could do was pray that she'd call the next morning, telling me the things were okay. Finally, at around 8 AM, my phone rang. Out of reflex, I mashed the green button. "Hello? Jacqueline? Is everything okay?" "Yeah, everything's fine." The voice sounded normal. Actually, it almost seemed relaxed. It felt almost like a total 180 from the previous night. "Listen, I'm sorry about last night. I know you probably think I'm nuts, but I can explain. Can we meet up again?" Yeah, sure. Where at and what time?" "In an hour, at the park with the pier." "Okay. You want me to bring anything? Maybe something for..." She hung up before I could finish. I quickly got dressed and got in my car. On the way to the park, I decided to stop by the nearby Subway and grab some food for us. The whole time I was wondering if the right thing to do would be to try admitting her to a hospital. I knew she probably wouldn't like the idea, but I couldn't just let her keep hurting herself like this, could I? I hadn't come to any sort of conclusions by the time I pulled up at the park either. I resolved to hear it out first, then go from there. That way I would at least have a better understanding of what was going on. I texted her at where she was and where in the park she wanted to meet up. She replied about 2 seconds later, saying she was at the pier by the lake. Grabbing the sandwiches, I headed into the park and for the lake. When I got there, I saw her sitting on the edge, looking out towards the lake. "Hey, so I hope you don't mind, but I brought us a bite too. It's beautiful, isn't it?" I stopped. "Huh?" "The lake. It's beautiful, isn't it?" Yeah, I guess so." I slowly approached the rest of the way to her. She just sat still. "My mother always tells me that the current of a lake would always wash away one's strife, that it was so peaceful to lose yourself in." Okay, I said, unsure of what I was supposed to say to this. I couldn't explain it, but something felt off. It was like some dormant instinct, a sixth sense you can call it, that was telling me that something was up. But what? When I reached her, I put my hand on her shoulder. "You hungry? I picked us up some subs from Subway. I wasn't sure what you liked, so I got you a..." "I hear dead people." For a moment, everything almost seemed to freeze in place. She was still and motionless, and the way she said it, it was like she was accepting some great truth of life. I guess a better way of saying it is that she sounded numb or hollow. "I hear dead people," she repeated in the same numb tone. They tell me to join them in the end, in him. My tongue felt swollen, like it had been punched. I'm sorry? What? You hear? Dead people, yes. And they tell you to do what now? She was quiet again for a moment. I was floored. How was I supposed to respond to that? How would you have responded to hearing this? They want me to go with them, she said finally, blankly. Go where? What do you mean? Into the end, to join with him. They've been telling me that he is what waits for us all. Huh? Who? You mean like God or something? What do you mean by waiting for us all? Even before she'd answered though, I knew deep down the answer was something wrong. He doesn't have a name. He is all of us. He is what we become on the other side. He waits to be completed. They need me. He needs me to join. I could feel a series of chills prick down my spine hearing this. She sounded so relaxed when she said it, like it all seemed normal to her. All sounded like something a cult member would say. And she said it like it was nothing. This was scaring the hell out of me now, and I was certain of one thing, one way or the other, I had to find her some kind of help. They've been telling me this ever since my mother died last year. I always hear her telling me to follow her to the end and join with them. I slowly reached out and gently put my hand on her shoulder. Jackie, come on, let's get out of here. We can find someone to... Help me? She asked, interrupting me. Is that what you were gonna say? I stayed silent. She let out a scoff and said, Look, if you won't believe me, what makes you think anyone else will? I was stumped. I wanted to grab her hand and take her to the nearest hospital. I wanted to tell her things were okay and that the voices weren't real. But I didn't. Instead, I clammed up. Besides which, she continued, starting to stand up, it's all right. Everything's going to be fine now. I'm done running. What happened next felt like it was lasting an eternity, despite it lasting only about a couple of minutes. I remember briefly noticing that she had her shoelaces tied together in a ball, joining both feet together. While my brain was busy with wondering about this, as well as trying to take in what I was hearing, and trying to figure out how to find some help for her, she looked me in the eyes for the first time since I got there and said, Thanks for being here now, Otto. I, for only a split second, saw that her hands were duct taped together. By the time it fully hit me exactly what she planned to do, I'd be too late to stop her. In one fluid motion, she flung her body backwards and was instantly swallowed by the lake. I rushed over and saw that she was almost too far down to see, only faintly glimpsing her eyes looking back up at me, wide and panicking. I turned back and shouted at a few others walking by to call 911 before diving headfirst into the lake after her. I flailed frantically as hard as possible, pushing myself deeper and deeper after her. It was useless though. The lake ran deep and it got darker, murkier the further down it went. Because of this, I couldn't see a thing. I also had never been a good swimmer in the first place. I had to push myself back up for air and go back down again several times, still unable to reach her. Eventually my body grew weak and I couldn't even move my arms and legs anymore. My body then started sinking too, and I was forced to take in a mouthful of water, unable to hold my breath any longer. That's when I finally blacked out, falling to the bottom of the lake along with Jacqueline. I remember coming to on the pier, dizzy, puking and spewing up lake water. Over me was a paramedic holding a jump bag and an oxygen mask. "He's becoming responsive," he shouted to the group on the other side of the pier. "Are you okay, sir?" I stared blankly at him, still catching my breath. It took a moment before everything came rushing back to me. "Jacqueline!" I cried, bolting up. The paramedic stopped me, telling me to calm down. I looked around to see police officers at the edge of the pier begin walking towards me. When they questioned me as to what happened, I told them the truth, as I knew it, that she had jumped in the river after telling me that she was hearing voices. I expressed that I also had every intention of trying to find help for her. They seemed to accept this as there was no other evidence, physical or from witnesses, to suggest anything otherwise, and I was free to go home. From there, life sort of just went on. It was weird. I of course spent a couple of weeks following losing myself to the bottle, every night after work. Finally, I was turned out from Porky Brothers when it got to a point that I wasn't really able to function in the kitchen anymore. I read a week later in the paper that Jackie's body was finally found after dragging the lake. Eventually though, I managed to actually sort of move on. I found another job at a much nicer restaurant, one that actually paid a bit better, and I felt like I could push Jacqueline to the back of my head, a distant memory. That's when I started hearing it though, or rather, hearing her. It happened one night when I came home from work and I was about to go to bed when I started hearing her voice calling my name. "Otto! Otto!" Then I saw her. She looked like she did when she was alive. Actually, she looked even better, being without the bruises. I rubbed my eyes. "What the hell?" "Otto, it's me, Jacqueline. Remember?" She was smiling when she said it. Her voice was smooth and calming. I closed my eyes, shaking my head. When I opened them, she was gone. Come on, man, get a grip. I decided to quickly down a couple of Millers before going to bed. That night in my sleep though, there she was again. She was standing in front of me, naked and smiling warmly. "You are lonely, aren't you, Otto? It's time. Come join us. Join with him." Before I could ask what she's talking about, as well as how she's there and what she wants with me, I hear a flurry of shrill whispers coming from behind me. Then out of the corner of my eyes, I see thousands of white streaks rush past, each of them with elongated mouths screaming simultaneously, "Come join us!" I was horrified. I tried to make myself wake up, but it was no use. I could only watch as the screaming streaks began swirling around in a vortex motion behind Jacqueline. Jackie herself then started descending towards the centre, her voice blending chaotically with the rest enchanting for me to join with him. Upon hearing the centre, I see her and the others start to morph, blending together and moulding into the shape of a man. It was tall and dark, like he was made out of the void itself. It had 4 long gangly arms that stretched out further and further towards me to snatch me and drag me into it. Every part of it was comprised of the screaming faces as more and more of them continued to conjoin. All around me was a horrific cacophony of their screams. "Join us!" The last thing I remember hearing before waking up was Jackie's voice, telling me it was time to join with him. I almost jumped out of bed and I didn't go back to sleep again that night. That was almost a month ago. Every day since, I keep seeing them, hearing them, always telling me to join them. Every time I see the thing, him, getting closer. I haven't been able to sleep and I can't function during the day either. I'm always hearing them. I don't know what this thing is or what it'll do when it reaches me in my sleep, but I'm 100% certain that it's something unholy, something horrible. I've been trying pills, but they only last so long before I hear them again. The only hope I have now is that I'm just fucking losing it. The grief is somehow driving me, like it drove Jackie with her mother to see this shit. I beg of you, please show me some kind of proof that what I'm seeing isn't real. I'm fucking scared right now. I can hear them right now. God damn it, I don't wanna go. And I hope you all enjoy the blooper reel. I looked in the pack, seeing that there was only one left after the one I was smoking. She told me that it was just a really made my day. I shot her a text saying I was on my way as my jaw fell open and hung like someone tied a brick of lead. Now in the full light outside, I saw how I gently took her hand and led her to... She didn't seem to notice me at first. By that point, I was really starting to eat. When we pulled into her house, before she could bolt out, I finally managed to satisfy myself that for the first... Fuck's sake. They tell me to join them in the... Here's what we became. What happened next felt like it would last, and it took a moment before everything came. Hey family, please be so kind as to punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to chokehold the notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. And by subscribing, you'll be the first to see all of our new spooky creepypasta stories. A very big thank you to Corpse Child for allowing me to narrate this awesome story. Make sure to check out Corpse Child's Reddit page for more brilliant stories. And be sure to check out the Corpse Child playlist here for more of their stories that I may have already narrated. I would just like to say a very big thank you to all of the authors that I have worked with and all the ones that I will work with in the future. So thank you all, my brothers and sisters. And why not hashtag cryptidsroost in your comments. A quick thank you to all of my Cryptids Roost community family too. We are now well on our journey to 1,000 subscribers. So please spread the word and help us to grow and expand. And don't forget to share the videos too. If you would like to support the channel and help make us grow, you can buy me a coffee with your donations, big or small, to buymeacoffee.com. You can also support us at Ko-Fi and BitChute. You can also follow us via our Facebook group, Twitter and Instagram. You can support us and donate via paypal.me/cryptidsroost as well. All relevant links will be below. And don't forget to check out the end screen, see above. That will also list some more videos in my back catalogue. Take care everyone, and I hope you all have a wonderful and peaceful night. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not.